All right, so today we're going to focus on note timings and how to look for them in music and how to understand them whenever you're listening to music and how to work them out for your own. So I'm not going to bore you by going over how notes divide again. I know you already know that a quarter goes into an eighth, goes into a 16th, and so on and so forth. What is important about this, though, is that understanding the way that note timings work together in time with music. That's the important bit. And if you can hear how different timings of notes interact to a beat while you're playing, that will be infinitely helpful. So the main exercise I'm going to want you to do after you finish this video is get a metronome and set it to a random timing. Listen to the beat and get a feel for it. And in one hand, either or, you're going to want to switch these eventually. And it doesn't matter what notes, you're going to set the tempo. So you're going to think of that as the quarter note to your beat. And in your other hand, you're going to divide it into your eighth notes. So for every one that this plays, this will play too. And so on. But I want you to do this with multiple tempos and switch your hands and switch whatever notes you're playing. So and if you want, you can even throw them back and forth, and you can divide it even more. Now, an important aspect in timings, just as much as hearing them and understanding how one overlaps in the other, is how to notice them in music. So specifically with winter, we come into contact with a lot of interesting note timings, primarily between 16th and 8th notes and the way they go together. Part of the reason we see so much contact with 8th notes and 16th notes is due to the speed of the piece. The speed at which you play the notes and the speed at which the piece comes across are both more fast-paced, more almost feverish. And so as such, we get our two more common subsets of faster notes being 8th notes and 16th notes. We are going for speed here as fast as we can, like Lightning McQueen. Thing to take note of for the speed, especially with the speed changes that come through this piece, is how they interact with each other. If you take a look down at this measure, you'll notice you'll have interactions where the 8th notes and the 16th notes meet up. Now, for some cases, when you have all these 8th notes, you're just playing them together. Now, we're going to go to our most favorite piece, which is where we get the interaction between 16th notes and 8th notes. There is unlike what we've seen so far in the rest of the piece, where we have interactions between the right and left hand changing speed and the way they fit together, now we're having speed changes in the form of 8th and 16th notes in one hand. And that's a difficult thing to figure out. Every musician is different and they each learn in a different way. Some can just hear the timings in their head. Others can read them off the page really quickly, but they can't hear them at all. So the best thing to do is to slow down whatever you're playing and take it and pay attention to the way that the notes interact. So specifically with the area we're having difficulty with in winter, the issue that throws us off is, especially with the speed, the difficulty of changing from one position to another. So with the measure from the winter, specifically the beginning one, and all of the subsections that come later, where you have a transition between something like this to you have to completely refigure slows you down. So the best thing you'll have is go slow. Find the shape. See if there's a common tone, a note that both of your positions share, in this case a C. Take note of it. And just take it as slow as possible. Now, the other difficulty that comes with this part in particular is the interaction between the 16th notes and the 18th, and not the 18th, the 16th and the 32nd note. 16th notes and the 8th notes. What is an issue is you have to know where it's faster and where it's slower, which is where the exercise of finding time between your hands helps. If I know needs to be faster than, I can set another tempo in my other hand or with the metronome. You'll listen. And we'll say that my left hand is the 8th note. And the way to think about this is if my left hand is the 8th note and we are looking at 16th notes on the page, for every one hit I give with my left hand, there needs to be 2 in my left hand. So in practice, again, you can choose any note for this. And we're going to start from here because this is an 8th note. And it doesn't sound great, but your left hand really doesn't matter what it's playing at this moment. You'll notice at the tail end of it, when you're playing the 8th notes, it'll just match with your left hand. Whereas when you're playing the faster bits, you'll get your 2. And taking this at a slower pace and then speeding it up eventually to match the tempo over the rest of the song is probably the best thing you can do. So just take that area slow. In any area you're having difficulty with timing, slow it down. Take it from as slow as you can possibly play it and then speed it up over time. Because it's more important to play it right than to play it fast.